Okay, I don't know if you can see behind me, we got beautiful, beautiful Sausalito, Marin County. And then, I'm just sitting here, I just kind of, I'll tell you a funny story. I like to listen to music, and one reason why I obviously didn't play music is because I'm not in my truck, but here I am in Sausalito Bay and listening to some Night Ranger. I don't know if you remember them, but that's there's all these music that you kind of grow up with, and I think you always have a soft spot in your heart for the music that you have, like that you just kind of move into adolescence with, like Night Ranger, Def Leopard, Mutt Lang. Remember the one-armed drummer, Mutt Lang, who went on to marry Shania Twain, who ended up marrying Shania Twain's sister or friend or best friend. Anyway, Mutt. He's still a great producer. Is what I'm trying to get at. Night Ranger. Listen to Night Ranger and Sister Christian, and that was kind of a song that I grew up with. And so, anyway, I'll tell you a lot about my story, and I think some of these videos are really just me just sharing the things I like and I love, and wanting to be a source of light and love to you. And because I heard something once. It was on Google or YouTube, and this guy was talking to a group of people, and he made this comment. He said, "I want to be the person I did not have," and he was talking about his own walk, his own cross, his own hard life, or whatever his story was. And it's not so much relevant to this video, but what he was saying is, he goes, "I wanted to be the person I didn't have," and I heard that in my spirit. The technical term for that's called a rhema. It's something when you hear it and you just like, ding, there's something to that. And and then to be the person I didn't have. And I think that's kind of what these videos are really becoming, is really just to be the person now, and to speak to the person that I didn't have growing up. And I'll talk about all kinds of things. And not only will I talk about all kinds of things, but I'll talk from all different kinds of places. I've been from Texas. Is kind of where I ran a finance company for 10 years, kind of shut shop there, and then went through a custody battle that was really heartbreaking. It's basically classic, hero's journey, and so here I am. I'm kind of in Sausalito, trying to start a new career, and not sure if I'm going to start like an advertising company. I'm not sure if I'm going to start if I'm going to do speaking, what I'm called to do. But one thing that I am called to do is just to be me, and to be myself, and to be a voice of authenticity, and to kind of be who I've always been since I was a kid. And that's a person who, was a really caring guy and loving kid. And then life happened, stepdad, and lots of abuse, and there's things that and I could tell you the cry story later, but at the end of the day, at the end of the cliche, like I like to cliche, I think these YouTube videos are kind of born of God, frankly, and there's always that fear of saying something that's going to offend people, like for example, I have two beautiful children. Beautiful children, and that I love and care about very much, and I haven't seen for over 2 years because of a custody battle. And to lose your children, and to kind of lose a business in the same kind of a Jobian, we read these stories and we think, oh, that's kind of a nice story, but there's a reason why the Bible is the Bible. The Bible is speaking to stories, and we have to really get into those stories and have courage to get into those stories, and that's kind of what I've done. And this is the third time I started over. And each time I started over, I needed to. There's things I needed to learn. For example, moving from the W-2 world to the self-employed world. I mean, that was God saying to me, John, it's those days of living off other people. They're done. You're gonna have to go earn your own keep. And it took me 3 years to really start that business. And MyLendingPlace.com is a finance company. I grew it from nothing to 250,000, and then had employees. And so, had to grow a company from zero to $500,000, half of which was my own production, and then to see it dismantled, Dodd-Frank, and then to kind of have the trial and all that stuff, and then, to do kind of like classic, hero's journey stuff, or to do classic Go read the book of Exodus. When God does a move in people's lives, and what does it look like? And what, anyway, so what's my point? What would I I have all these things that I want to say, but I also want to respect your time, and I want to make these videos, short and succinct. And so I guess there's two things I'm going to kind of talk about. Number one is I'm going to talk a lot about the things that I love, do kind of a Johnny travelogue. I'm also going to do a lot of, for example, tomorrow, the next day, I'm going to profile a photographer, and we're going to get to know a local Sausalito photographer, and to while I'm doing this Johnny travelogue, man, there's a lot of stories that I think God wants to be told, and I think there's a lot of stories I want to tell, and I think at the end of the day, at the end of the cliche, Gandhi was right where he said two things. He goes, you need to be the change you want to see, and then secondly, he says, the world does not need more successful people. What the world really needs are storytellers and healers. And when I went to that trial and when I went through all that shit, and having to start over, and lose friends, walk away from friendships, walking away from most of my family. We could talk all day long in the codependent rooms and the Al-Anon rooms and the 12-step rooms about letting things go, but we don't really mean that. And we talk about letting things go, but we like to talk about it from the head up. But when it actually happens in real life, like when one day God said to me, John, give up Durango. I'm like, man, I love Durango, love it. And then he's asking me to leave. What he's really saying is, just like he did when he took me from W2 world to self-employed world, is, John, it's time to come up. 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 It's time to rise. It's time to rise. And I think really, with all humility or whatever it is, I think that that's my passion. Is I want to call people to rise. I want to call the church to rise. I want to call art to rise. I want to call. When I look at journalism, I want to call journalism to rise up. When I look at how corporations are killing local markets, and how I ran a small business for 10 years, and I see how vulnerable small businesses are, and that's a passion of mine. I want to tell the local world, rise up. And then I want to tell the church to rise up. There's a lot I want to do church speaking. I'm like, church, the message always comes to the church. The church always ignores it. Then it goes, and then we wonder why we're why we're ineffective. And I'm like, well, church, because we ignore God, and we have a history of those. Go read those stories. I mean, the story of God's people is always to ignore God, and it's so. And then we even, that's why he gave us Jesus. And then Jesus, what did they do to Jesus? They killed him. If you go read the Bible, like what Jesus did? He walked around and did good. That's what the Bible said. Google it. So whether you believe in the Bible or not, look at that one mission from Jesus Christ. He says, I walked around and did good. And then Isaiah, I think 61, says more specifically that he's come to heal broken hearts and set captives free. And so where am I going with this? Number one is I just want to do a lot more speaking. I want to meet with a lot of people. I want to meet with churches. I want to meet with small businesses. I want to meet with really any person who wants to rise up. And that there's a lot of things that are under that umbrella. I want to talk about cannabis and how important cannabis is, and how look at our troops. I want people. I'm going to use a lot of words that I think people aren't really going to want to hear. Like nobody wants, like the Fox News crowd. Remember, I changed my political party from Republican to a Libertarian, but to the Fox News crowd. I mean, people. You'll never hear Fox News talk about military suicides, and yet they claim to be pro-military. It's like, well, guys, you want to be fair and balanced. Well, let's look at the other side of the equation. Let's look at the suicide rate among our military. Let's look at let's look at homelessness. Let's look at these corporate. Anyway, don't get me on. The point is, there's a lot. I have a lot of messages, and I just want to share them. And tomorrow I'm going to meet with a local photographer here in Sausalito, and I'm going to. We're going to kind of learn about the importance of having local artists and supporting local artists, and how the local artist needs to be treated almost with the same respect as I think the highest official. And why? It's because the artists are the ones that they're the ones that listen to God. They're the ones that are listening, and they're trying to get a message out, and they're trying to say, okay, so tomorrow or the next day or whenever he texts me, we're gonna go talk to a local photographer who has brilliant work. In fact, I walked in there and I thought, this was a professional, like he was selling prints, and then no, that was the photographer, and it's an older gentleman. We're gonna learn. We're gonna use the art of the art of photography and the art of image, and I'm gonna try to tell God's story the best I possibly can, and that's just as honest as I could be right now. So, what do they say? Jehovah Shalom, right? Or they say, thank you and stay along, and please share this content if you have questions or you have disagreements, or maybe I'll plug a business or something. I love to do that because at the end of the day, I don't really want to aim for success. I want to aim for healing and storytelling. And if I could do that in my own Night Ranger way, I'll do it. So thank you, and we'll talk soon. J-Bug, K-Bug, I love you guys so much. J-Bug, K-Bug, if you ever knew how much I love you. And Muleshoe, that's the town my ex-wife is from. I forgive you. I forgive Muleshoe, and I want to speak a blessing over Muleshoe. And all those people who violated Texas 2503, all those people who I'll probably have to spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars and to try to bring the first federal case against Texas 2503 not being enforced, and to hopefully help a lot of Texas dads. Yeah, I'll do it, one step at a time. And will I win? Who knows? But I'm not called to win. I'm called to do my best. And J-Bug, K-Bug, you broke my heart. My heart fell out. And I knew at the end of the day, at the end of the cliche, it was go get with God, or it's over. And that's why I went to Durango, and that's why I went to the mountains, and that's when I prayed every day, and I learned a new trade, and then God said, let Durango go. Let Durango go. And I was like, man, no. And then He's taken care of me every step of the way. And I want to tell that story of God's faithfulness in just crazy ways, and how He gives you the delights of your heart. And God's always known that I've admired comedians and loved comedians, and would secretly like to do that, just to bring laughter as good medicine, to just bring that. And, God's always known that secret desire, and just trusting God to take a little teaching class at UCLA. Just like, God's like, yeah, twofer, brother. Holla. And I was like, wow, that was so beautiful. Gave me the delight of my heart. And I got up there, and He knew I wouldn't have enough courage, so He put me at UCLA to, I had to teach a bunch of elite students about college readiness. And so I started talking about courage, because they're already ready for college if they're at UCLA readiness class, right? I mean, these guys are acing the fucking ACT, and so where am I going? God gave me the desire of my heart, and I performed 1.5 sets of really bad comedy at the Comedy Store. That was, thank you, and just so fortunate, and a lot of good stories kind of go to the grave, and I want to tell my story from the mountaintop. And there's one thing that I'll always do is I'll always communicate, and maybe that's why God gave me, maybe that's why He put me in the United States of America. So the First Amendment, that's the most beautiful, beautiful amendment we have. And someone might be wondering, okay, now he's talking about the fucking Constitution. Well, the fact is at some point when I talk about 2503 not being enforced for a lot of dads, a lot of lawyers are going to not like that. And so I'm sort of always hedging against a federal trial that's going to probably occur at some point, and it's going to be Muleshoe versus Jonathan, where I talk about 2503, and I talk about federally protected statuses, including gender. When you start talking about gender rights for men, and you start talking about 2503 and the fact that women can't take 20% of a man's income just because they have fucking fallopian tubes, when you start talking like that, so First Amendment says I have the right to be a journalist, and I have a right to to speak my truth, even if my knees are trembling. You guys have a great day.